Now, to discuss this further, we're now being joined by Ms. Irina Sukman, who's an analyst on West Asia and a fellow at the Arabian Peninsula Institute and at the Jerusalem Center for Public Affairs. Ma'am, thank you so much for joining us on WION World is One.
Thank you so much for having me.
Ma'am, to begin with, of course, we have seen Operation True Promise be carried out by Iran. Missiles and drones sent towards Israel. What is your assessment of how the situation has transpired, given that right after these attacks, Iran did also come out with a clarification saying, also evoking Article 51 of the UN Charter? How do you see things and how they've transpired so far?
Well, first of all, Iran is overstepping its boundaries in this respect because First, the building that Israel attacked was not a diplomatic building. It was located next to the consulate, and Iran has deliberately misrepresented it to be a diplomatic building. Moreover, the RGC commanders that were killed as a result of the attack were part of a corps that was responsible for attacks on Israel from Syria and abroad, which were aimed at civilian population and not merely at military installations there. Second, Iran still does not wish to see a full-blown confrontation with Israel. We see it by the calibrated nature of these attacks, despite the fact that there was a significant number of drones and missiles fired. They were done so in a manner that allowed Israel to intercept them very successfully, and it is clear that Iran is was looking for a face-saving measure after heated rhetoric, but that would not draw it into a protracted confrontation. The third issue is that, according to Israeli news sources, Israel will be retaliating with a military strike. The nature and place and date of which will be determined after consultations with Washington.
All right. Ms. Irina Sukman, I also wanted to understand, how do you see, now Iran in its statement, it's categorically mentioned the United States. How do you see American involvement, if at all, going forward?
Israel has been involved in defensive operations to take down many of the drones that were fired at Israel. Moreover, it's important to note that those drones did not only reach Israel, they also landed in Erbil, placing American troops in danger, and they also landed in Amman. And for that reason, there's been a broadening of international cooperation against those drones. So the U.S. role in the region is to help protect security and its own security interests. It is not just about Israel. So far, Israel has not asked for any direct assistance with any offensive operations.
All right, Ms. Sukman, before we go on any further, just moments ago, first reactions coming in from Israel now. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, in a social media post, in fact, has said, "We intercepted, we repelled, together we shall win." You also spoke about the fact that Israel, of course, will retaliate. So how do you assess the situation, and what sort of a response and to what extent can we expect from Israel?
Well, Israel appeared to be well prepared for this attack. It's worth noting that the U.S. intelligence did warn about the approximate nature of the attack a few days before it was launched. It is also taking the time to consult with the United States and to coordinate any further action, from which we can say that the attack will probably be against a significant military or economic target in Iran that will send a strong message of deterrence to Islamic Republic regime, but will be calibrated and coordinated with the U.S. to avoid civilian casualties. Israel is not at war with the people of Iran. Israel is at war with the Islamic Republic regime.
All right. Now, that being said, if we go back to the statement that came out of Iran, where it said that if Israel does retaliate, there will be a more severe response. So is this a sign of further escalation? This after Iran said that this matter should be deemed concluded.
Iran is leaving no choice for Israel but to send a strong message of deterrence. It has just earlier today it has hijacked an Israeli-linked ship passing through the Strait of Hormuz. It threatened to disrupt international shipping, including Israeli shipping, and it has also coordinated the attacks with Iraqi militias and with Yemeni Houthis. So clearly, the aim here is to encircle Israel, to weaken it, to isolate it from the rest of the region and from the United States, and to assert Iranian hegemony across the region. And this is not something that's going to be tolerated by Israel due to its own security, or for that matter, due to the concern about freedom of navigation and freedom of basic freedoms across the region. This attack earlier today did not just cause minor damage inside Israel, it also interrupted freedom of airspace for multiple countries in the region. So Iran's actions and its threats are entirely its own choice. It could be engaging with peaceful economic activity in the region. Instead, it's causing dramatic economic disruptions and escalation around the region with its own action.
All right, thank you so much, ma'am. In fact, I just wanted some clarity on this as well. Do you think this escalation between Iran and Israel will have any sort of a bearing on Israel's operations in Gaza?
I think Iran has tried to look for an opening, a political opening, when the international opinion turns against Israel and Gaza, and it's looking to disrupt Israel and prevent it from successfully putting an end to Hamas hold in Gaza, and also to attack it on many fronts simultaneously, as we are already seeing through the increasing escalation by Hezbollah in the north, by the fact that 60,000 Israelis have not been back home since the start of Hezbollah attacks 6 months ago, and now coordinated attacks by Iraqi militias, the Houthis, and even Iran directly itself. So it aims to weaken Israel on all fronts, to prevent it from successfully carrying out any military operations, and to essentially isolate and encircle it completely. Israel will not allow that to happen. It will continue taking all measures necessary for its security.
But that being said, do you think it's perhaps time for Israel to pivot from its current strategy, probably to regroup and rethink about how it moves forward in Gaza? I mean, this also comes at a time when Israel has been facing growing pressure, not just from outside forces, from allies, but also from within.
Well, if Israel does not put an end to Hamas in Gaza, they will come back to attack Israelis again and again. Let's not forget that Hamas stated they didn't even have enough living hostages remaining to make a ceasefire agreement with Israel, which means that this is a group of people which has ruthlessly murdered helpless hostages and is now looking for a way to retain power in Gaza. But at the same time, it is true that Israel should be looking towards Iran as the main sponsor of assorted proxies and militias in Gaza, in the West Bank, and all around the region, and it should not ignore the direct threat that Iran represents to its security and to the entire region. It should be able to calibrate a multi-pronged strategy that allows it to disrupt and dismantle Hamas in Gaza, but at the same time have sufficient resources to be able to address Iranian threat directly.
All right, and just for further clarity on this, despite its operations on ground and the gains that it has made, the Hamas ideology still remains intact. Even though Hamas has suffered losses at the hands of Israel, the ideology remains intact. So to what extent do you think Israel can go ahead in justifying its operations in Gaza at a time when the humanitarian and civilian death toll has been through the roof? We also heard of the death of the aid workers. So what sort of changes are we looking at, if at all, and what sort of changes would you recommend that should be carried out in Israel's operations in Gaza?
Well, let's start with the fact that even the Gaza Health Authority, which is operated by Hamas, admitted to grossly exaggerating civilian death toll. And aside from their own admission, numerous experts have come out showcasing how the data has been outright fabricated. In terms of humanitarian situation, yes, indeed, the situation is grave. It is made graver by the fact that Hamas is controlling institutions and making it impossible to deliver the aid successfully. So what Israel should be doing is creating a more cohesive operational network with other countries, including other regional countries, on the ground to be able to deliver the aid directly to the civilians in a way that bypasses Hamas and makes it impossible for Hamas to disrupt a network. So that means greater security, cooperation, command and control centers in various parts of Gaza, and technical cooperation as well to prevent Hamas from succeeding in staging propaganda campaigns that deliver disinformation about the nature of humanitarian assistance. Having said that, the question about ideology and countering extremism is very important. Israel has an important opportunity to cooperate with its neighbors, Arab Gulf states, and as well as Egypt and Jordan, to combat vicious Islamist ideology that is a threat not only to its own security but to the entire region. And I hope to see that this sort of ideological cooperation, a cooperation towards better education, towards
All right.
civil society building, can help over a long term dismantle that ideological threat as well.
All right, Ms. Irina Sukman, thank you so much for joining us on WION with your insights on this. We'll, of course, continue to track this situation closely.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
For latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.